It's time for a little hobby house garden update. Well, first things first, let's look at the crab apple. You know, the nice tall crab apple that I've been growing inside for the last while. Well, last night a deer found its way into the yard and stripped it of every single delicious leaf. And oh, it looks like it also nipped off the growth bud from the top. So I guess it's going to be a bush at this point. We'll see. Maybe I'll fence it in or whatnot. There's also another one. These are seed apples, so it's probably just a crab apple. I've got another crab apple that we'll look at back here, and the deer, it's kind of a floppy one. I guess the deer thought that was too much work. But whatever. Our kales are obviously, our brassicas, I guess I should say just various brassicas, but mostly kales. They're all in bloom right now, which means that these were second year plants that came back. It's starting to get hot right now. So just a little test. Got plenty of bees and pollinating insects. Definitely losing its sweetness at this point. The sugars are used in kales to keep them from freezing when it is really low temperatures. So when it gets hot, it doesn't produce as much sugar and you get something that's not quite as sweet. Still good though, honestly. Let's see. I pushed in a whole bunch of that corn that I talked about. Maybe I talked about it last time, I don't remember. But last year, I bred some glass gem Cherokee corn, which is kind of a low, relatively hardy corn, and I crossbred that to some sweet corn. I did about a tenfold on the seeds. So we started with 5 grams, ended with 50 grams of seeds. And I planted a whole bunch of these in here, mostly for shade of the other stuff in the back later in the year. But those are all popping up here, a bunch of little corns coming up. You can see that there's deer tracks all in here too from last night. Unfortunately, the deer didn't step on any of them, but we've got all these corns here. We also have some squash because corn and squash go together. We also have a bunch of, let's see, what's it called? Italian dandelion or chicory here as well. All these little, those guys, there's a bunch of them in there. And let's see, we got more of the squash, more corn, just all in here. It looks fairly weedy right now, but as the stuff is coming up, I'm pulling them out. Our black raspberries are coming back. I'm pretty sure these are native black raspberries. Yeah, they look like native black raspberries, which means that they're going to be single fruiting. They fruit on the second year canes, but unfortunately, our canes got eaten back by rabbits, so there's nothing to fruit off of, so they'll just grow some more. We have our meth head deterrent here, just making sure that this place looks trashy enough that nobody wants to come in. Oh yay, finally, I've been checking these guys out, the Jujubes or Jujube trees. They're finally starting to leaf out. I did move them from the other location, so I was pretty worried about it. But they're coming back. They're coming back here. We also have a bunch of dill, and it looks like lettuce. That somehow I got lettuce in with the dill, but a bunch of dill coming up on this edge. Dill is almost it's delicious, but it's also nearly aggressive as far as taking over. So we'll see how that goes. But the hascaps, the honeyberries, are really loving the spot, and so far they're loving the weather, but it's been in the 90s already here. They may not like it. As well as the comfrey. The comfrey's coming back real nice. I got comfrey all over. It's one of them's flowering over there, purple flowers. Then let's see, currants. We got black currants right here. Some more stuff coming up, some more honeyberries, some filiberts, whatever those are. Hazelnuts. We got hazelnuts in here as well. There's really a lot going on in a small space, just kind of packed together. This is also another currant, another black currant over here, which looks like it's definitely fruiting. This is, I just planted this one in this year, but it's fruiting. It was big enough. As you can see, all these little flowers. And then the comfrey also flowering right there next to us. The comfrey is the nutrient accumulator. It is also a nitrogen fixer, and it also is a rhizome barrier. So this guy is going to keep the grass from coming in on this side as well. Oh, it looks like this Jujube is leafing out as well. Very tiny, not as much as the one over at my homestead house, but it's not dead. So yay, yay. This is the Lang, the other one is the Lee at the Homestead house. This variety is the one that leafed out really hard, actually extremely vigorous at where it is, and the other one wasn't doing so great. So yeah, all right. And here is the other apple tree. This one had dried out at some point in time, so it's got multiple leaders. The growth node just got nipped off last night by the deer. It looks like it kind of nipped some of these off. Maybe this one didn't taste good to the deer as opposed to the other one. Who knows? But it mostly left this one alone. You know, maybe it was just too much of a hassle for the deer. Hard to say, but it's a crab apple. It's a seed apple. It's going to be fairly hardy as long as it takes to this spot. So, you know, just a little small garden, but quite a bit of genetic diversity already. You know, we've got a lot of stuff that I've been putting into this space over here. Let's see, anything that I could easily point out, maybe not so much. I've got some spice bush in there. We've got all sorts of trees. It turns out that there's a whole ton of mulberries coming up in there. They're going to have to be, 10 feet tall plus to start fruiting, but I will be able to move those in the future to other locations if I want to. So I'm not taking them out. Like, here's one right here. This is a which looks like the deer ate a bunch of the leaves off, but that's a mulberry there. I'm pretty sure that these are wild mulberries. I'll need to check into that to see if it's not some other cultivar that came in and then just started spreading. But yeah, it looks like the deer did nibble off that, nibbled off the growth bud from the top as well. But let's see, anything else really to talk about besides the deer? I think in the last video we did point this out. This is an elderberry. The deer stripped this guy of almost all the leaves somewhere, I think it was about 2.5 weeks ago. It's a native. It doesn't care. It bounced right back. I was kind of worried about it, but this is, I think, the 3rd year, maybe the 4th year for this guy, or gal, as it may be. So it's still happy. Oh yeah, it's also flowering. So a lot of the flowers may have gotten eaten off. Now that I think about it, when the deer ate all of those growth tips, this one may not get much chance to flower. There'll be some flowers though. There'll be some flowers. Not enough to eat, but it still is genetic storage. It is still holding its space. We also have one over here that I need to plant into the ground. So I'm gonna put that one probably right there. It still is gonna get enough shade for it to be happy. And yeah, and then we got this over here. We'll just end on this. These are the Pawpaw trees. We've got 2 Pawpaw trees, which is a native plant. It likes to be understory. It likes morning sun, if anything, but it doesn't really like direct sun from overhead, although it'll be fine. It'll be fine with it. It is planted here on the edge of the drip line of this, and within about 2 to 3 years is gonna be on the drip line of this pin oak next to us. So it should get enough shade. Hopefully it won't get burned, but we've got 2 of them there. That'll make a nice a breeding pair, essentially. And then I also do have hazelnut hiding here on the edge. You can see I put some stuff around just to kind of keep the deer and other animals off of it. The deer really like to eat hazelnuts down to nubs. So this is enough to just keep the deer off so far. Everything else seems to be leafing out and looking good. So yeah, things are working. The plants are growing, they're happy, and the yard is nice and squishy and moist as usual. So if you do have any questions, leave them down below. I'll do my best to get to them. Hope you enjoyed our little bitty micro front garden tour here. Have a great day.